Hey guys, it is Spencer,
And I'm Katie.
and welcome to KSSP Podcast. I'll let Katie take it from here.
All right. Today we are going to be talking about abortion rights. First, we're going to watch a little video here and comment on it. So let me just share my screen. All right. And this is Meet the Face of the Millennial Anti-Abortion Movement.
The right to abortion is not a real right. My bodily autonomy doesn't give me license to kill, period. We have to change the way we look at this entirely and get that message to everyone. I'm Lila Rose. I've been a pro-life activist for 15 years.
The pro-life movement is today's authentic women's movement. The popular narrative has been that abortion is somehow going to empower women when we know that it's an act of violence for children.
Live Action is a nonprofit dedicated to educating the masses on the truth of abortion. We want it rejected culturally and legally. We're reaching millions of people on a monthly basis through social media, through Live Action News. But the goal is, how do we get these stories in front of every single person? People that claim to be feminists and people that claim to be pro-women, but are out there advocating for abortion, they're still stuck in this very antiquated view that abortion equals women's empowerment. We're publishing content every day to millions of people, content that exposes what abortion is.
All right. This is a little strange here. Women's rights begin in the womb. I just find that interesting because it kind of goes against the idea that, a woman has a right to her bodily autonomy, which is her womb. It's just a manipulative. This woman seems like she's just manipulating the idea of feminism to fit her narrative.
Yes, and I mean, again, it doesn't matter about her. Like, the person doesn't matter, because anyone can spread this misinformation, so any person can do that. But I just find it interesting that, well, she said antiquated, because I'm pretty sure if you look antiquated to me, if we're gonna talk semantics, I guess, would be old, but I'm pretty sure in history abortion was not viewed as a good thing. So I don't know how.
Well, if you actually look at the history, really, like, at least from what I've seen, like, the anti-abortion movement didn't really come up until the 1800s. Like, Benjamin Franklin, for example, wrote a book on how women can give at-home abortions.
Oh, I guess I didn't know that.
Yeah. This is an interesting piece of history. But then there were doctors that started coming up saying that, like, women shouldn't have the right to abortion because, the argument that to save the fetus's life, or as they'd say, the child's life. And, like, I don't think you can declare a fetus on your taxes, for example. Let's see what else she has to say.
Do you think now, watching this and from what you just said, do you still support women's up to birth?
I just want to comment on that really quick. All right, abortions only happen that late if it's a medical concern. Like, no woman is going to carry an entire pregnancy and just change your mind at the end of it.
I'm Catholic, so my faith is extremely important to me.
Take this, all of you, and drink from it. For this is my blood.
Our rights, our human rights, don't come from the state. There's a higher power, and there's an absolute truth that we can agree on, and that we can build a society on.
Right.
For the kingdom and the power and the glory are yours, now and forever. When I was a little girl, I think I'd heard the word abortion, but I didn't understand what it was. Around the age of 9, I came across images of children, beautiful, but that had been torn apart by a first trimester suction abortion. It inspired me to say, I have to do something.
What are the thoughts going through your mind right now?
I don't know. It's gonna be fun. In preparation, ended up bleaching my hair platinum blonde. Hannah Montana outfit at the time was the rage. Got it from Walmart. Put together a whole identity of what this girl was going through.
So where are you going to the clinic today? You're pregnant?
I'm taking on the persona of this young girl who's an abuse victim.
Who's the father?
I can't tell anybody. We're using undercover cameras. And I'm posing as a 13-year-old girl named Brianna. I tell the Planned Parenthood worker that I have a 31-year-old boyfriend. I remember watching the view count of the YouTube videos start to skyrocket. I call it advocacy journalism.
So wait, it said, what did that just say? It said Planned Parenthood employee fired after hiding sex abuse of a 13-year-old girl. So that doesn't have anything to really do with the abortion per se, but I guess it's not good to hide the sex abuse and not report it to the police.
Yeah, no, I don't know about, I know nurses are mandatory reporters, so, and I don't know if I am not educated on the staff requirements to work at an abortion clinic, so I don't know if it is nurses or if it's a different kind of worker in a way, and if they have to have a bachelor's, but either way, I feel like it would be but she also was lying about it, so there was no truth to it either, which that is wrong on a million different levels. And anytime, because as she stated earlier in the video, and I have nothing wrong with religion at all, but people who try to force their religion on everyone else, that is wrong.
I actually saw an interesting statistic here. Where was it? 17% of abortion patients in 2014 identified themselves as Protestant, 13% as evangelical Protestant, and 24% as Catholic, while 38% reported no religious affiliation, and 8% reported some other affiliation. So the majority of people who are getting abortions appear to be religious, actually. So that's just a fun fact.
Yeah.
That I mentioned here.
Skyrocket. I call it advocacy journalism.
A pro-life group staged an undercover sting at Planned Parenthood, and the results are shocking.
The video was shot by this anti-abortion group. They call themselves Live Action, and it's led by, there she is, 22-year-old Lila Rose.
The cry from the pro-choice side against the Live Action videos has always been that they are edited unfairly, that they only selectively show some of the conversations that she was having, or they're manufactured altogether. Lila Rose has been a huge pain in the side of Planned Parenthood, and I think that they view her, along with other pro-life activists, as being a huge threat to women.
Oh, so they doctored the video, apparently. Isn't that nice?
Lila Rose is one of the most charismatic figures in the pro-life movement.
As long as they are legal in our nation, abortions would be done in the public square. Until we were so sick and tired of seeing them that we would do away with the injustice altogether.
Lila, over time, has certainly become more polished. She has been able to take the model of a young millennial feminist and transform that into a young millennial pro-life feminist.
Women in our country have walked into classrooms powerful. We've walked into the voting booth powerful. But today, after winning the so-called right to abortion, women walk into abortion facilities powerless.
She's professionalized. That has allowed her to have longevity rather than just being sort of a scandal maker blip. She has been able to transform her platform into not just an insurgent bunch of people with handheld cams going into an abortion clinic and trying to find some dirt, but rather really a platform for a movement.
And we are joined now by Lila Rose, president of Live Action.
Unfortunately, for our country, in many states, you can commit an abortion on a child that's viable, that can survive outside the womb.
All right. I do have something to say about that. So let's see. Fetus is not viable outside of the womb at all before 24 weeks. And, obviously if it's that early even, they're going to have a lot of health complications. And honestly, they wouldn't survive on their own without modern medicine. So you cannot commit an abortion on a child that is viable, that can survive outside of the womb. Abortions at or after 21 weeks are uncommon and represent 1% of all abortions in the U.S. So literally,
I always
and those are pretty much all for medical reasons, I would assume.
I always find it interesting how they will adamantly defend that 1% when it comes to abortion, but where was that same, where's
it saying, like, adamancy?
During COVID and the COVID 1%.
Exactly.
Because they were like, oh, it's only 1%. Well, this is only 1% too, so
yeah.
What about it?
And
like, you can't be, it's just insane how they never, there's no consistency in the logic from what I've seen.
The logic
and I wish
centered around their belief system. Their belief system is not centered around logic.
Yes. And I wish more people would just, again, I would never want to convince anyone to think a certain way, because people should believe what they believe, but I just wish more people realized how they were being emotionally manipulated.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can be against abortion, but still understand that every woman should have the right to get an abortion if they need to, or if they want to, because that is a human right to have that choice. It doesn't matter if you agree with abortion, but if we want true freedom in America, then we will not make laws outline abortion, because that takes away freedom. And we wouldn't make any laws forcing people to have abortions either.
Exactly. And
because that would take away freedom as well.
Yeah, like you wouldn't force somebody to give up a kidney to protect the life of another person. So why would you force someone to have this whole medical event just to protect the life of another person? It just goes against common, standard medical practices.
And that's why I really try to emphasize it is very important to just critically try to digest, because it's so easy, to just take what you hear and then run with it and not think about it, because it's easy to just let people tell you how to think, because then you don't have to do any of the hard critical thinking. And I'm not even trying to say that, because some people might not even be aware that, because some of these emotional manipulation tactics are more subtle, so they are the people doing the emotional manipulation tactics are the people that are in the wrong, in my opinion, not necessarily the people that fall for them, because the people that fall for it are victims in a way. And I know that they can still do damaging things due to those being emotionally manipulated, and they are still accountable, responsible for those actions. But the people that are emotionally manipulating them and using those tactics know what they are doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Today, we learned Justice Anthony Kennedy is retiring from the court. President Trump, right there in the middle, will now get the chance to shape this court for at least a generation.
This is a pivotal moment. If we have another Supreme Court justice appointed who recognizes that Roe v. Wade is bad law, it could change everything. We urge Congress, the administration, and HHS to continue to take action on behalf of our most vulnerable.
I appreciate being here, standing here with surrounded by so many pro-life supporters that have done so much work for so long, not only here in this Congress, but across this country. And I'm one of the big fans of Lila Rose and the research that she's done.
I think we're going to see an end to legalized and culturally accepted abortion in my lifetime. And I'm excited to be alive and to be part of it.
So I'm interested to know, what is she talking about Planned Parenthood covering up sexual abuse? It seems like this is something of a theme, because they were holding up signs saying, stop sexual abuse cover up, or whatever the sign said. What they're saying is, like, when young girls come in to get the abortions, they don't ask them questions about who got them pregnant. Let's take a look here. 1 in 4 women will have an abortion by age 45. Let's see. Uh, 59% of abortions were obtained by patients who had had at least one birth. So this narrative that women who are getting abortions just hate their children is just completely wrong. And
yeah, I didn't know that was a narrative, but...
Yeah, and then this is the big one for me. 75% of abortion patients in 2014 were poor or low income level. So basically they were making about $30,000 or less, which is clearly not enough of a wage to raise a child on.
No, I'm pretty sure I just saw a statistic. I'd have to look it up. There's a statistic. I don't know if you're able to Google it, on how much it takes to raise a child. There's like a number. Somebody...
Yeah.
And I don't remember. It's a high number. It's not cheap. So...
No, it's not cheap to raise a child. $250,000.
Yeah.
And if you're making $30,000 a year, you do not have $250,000 in your bank account.
And honestly, I don't even know what that all includes. Does that, if you click on that, does it include like food and stuff? Because if that includes food, it still only includes food for the child. Like, you still need to eat as the parents. Like, you can't just not eat.
Medical bills. You have to pay for the birth. You have to pay for all the medical bills. Being pregnant.
It's not going to include rent, which landlords just keep increasing the rent as well.
Powdered formula is around $400 to $800 per month.
That is insane.
So their groceries, basically, their food is about $400 to $800 a month.
Just for the baby. Because obviously once they get older, they...
Oh, yeah, just for the baby.
But that's still a lot of money.
Yeah, because that's at least for... I guess I don't know how long you feed a baby formula.
And that's not healthy, because honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if some people had to start rationing, which is dangerous for the baby, like for the kids, if they have to start rationing formula so that they make sure they have it. Like, that just is a very dangerous situation for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Because then obviously the baby isn't getting proper nutrients, which is going to affect it in the future as well.
Oh, it includes childcare. which is also very expensive.
Yeah.
For infants to 4 years old, averages about $10,000 per child for center-based care and $8,000 for home-based care, which is a lot of money. And that's an annual cost. So every year they're paying, that would be a third of their salary, of a $30,000 salary.
And that's even if, like, I don't know, those seem kind of low to me. Like 10,000 a year is, I don't know. I feel like daycares are way more expensive than. Is that what that's talking about? Is daycare?
That's like, yeah, and that's just any old day. And you want to send your child to a safe, certified daycare, and that's probably going to cost even more.
Yeah.
Let's see. Parents reported spending more than 20% of their household income to childcare. And 72% of people report spending 10% or more on childcare, which is crazy. Diapers, around $1,000 a year. That's cheaper than I would think, honestly.
And I always wonder, where are these people's, I guess we can say outcry, because they obviously are outcrying about abortion. So where is this outcry about living wages so that people can properly take care of their kids once they're born?
Yeah, definitely. And then there was one other statistic I wanted to address on this here, where it says 51% of abortion patients were using contraceptive method in the month they became pregnant. Most commonly condoms or short-acting hormonal method. So the concept of birth control is basically the proof that consenting to having sex is not the same as consenting to having a child. Because you can consent to having sex and be on birth control. The whole point of birth control is because you're not trying to have a child.
Yeah. But yeah, not everything, like, it isn't 100% effective.
Exactly.
Like, I don't think any doctor has ever claimed that it is.
No, definitely not.
So if you're not a doctor and you're claiming that it is, what research have you? I'd just like to see some of the studies you conducted to figure out that is, and not anecdotal review, like not anecdotal stories, because that you can sway the data with anecdotal stories anyway.
Yes.
So you need to have done a study to prove to me that birth control is 100% effective. I just would like to see your study, is all.
Yeah,
you
and
can
even
email it to us. That'd be
if
nice.
that's not the claim, to the main point I guess I'm trying to make is oftentimes people will say that, pregnancy or childbearing is a punishment for having sex and is a natural consequence, when that's just not the case because we have birth control.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah. I don't know if you have anything else to add, Spencer.
About just in general?
In general, yeah.
No, I think it's clear our stances, obviously. I would just say anytime, including watching us, you should just critically digest the information, which can take some time. I don't never expect anyone to watch something and then understand it right away. Like, I'd have to take time to process and digest things. Even something like a movie.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or not, like good or bad, like that. But just, it's always good to not just don't just believe. I mean, obviously they always say don't believe things you read on the internet, kids, but you really should be thinking about whatever you read on the, like,
yes.
It's important to digest any sort of media you intake before you come to a conclusion. I mean, again, your first immediate reaction, since they're trying to do this to you, is going to be emotional. And it's easy to get lost in the emotions, but you should definitely process those emotions. But then once you've processed those emotions, it's still important to then think, is this how I feel, or is this how they wanted me to feel? Because they want you to feel a certain way. So it's important to see, do I actually feel and think this way, or do I just feel compelled by the speaker to feel this way? Or is it something that I actually believe and think? I think that's important. Like with any media, even our media.
Yeah, and also just to remember that, like, yes, the feelings are important, but at the same time, feelings don't override facts. They can coexist with the data, but if your feelings are conflicting with the actual facts, then you need to reassess your feelings. You can reach out to us on, let's see, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, yes.